Welcome, ladies and gents. This is the Peace Dealer with an extra special message. I'm going to be talking about something that actually everyone around the world is seeing with their own eyes. It's just as we get through the fog of Pisces, once this fog clears, coming around, like everything that's being set up right now is being set up for the dawn of the new age, the neo-renaissance, Pluto Aqua, Neptune Aries, Uranus and Gemini. By the time we step into 2025 and Saturn and Neptune go into Aries, we're seeing an entire collective cultural fade or cultural fad fade away forever since 200 years ago, but mainly popularized since the last 12 and 30 years. Okay, so this is so very important because this message applies to you. We're entering completely uncharted territory. Everything that you've ever known about the industry, in whether the music industry, the art industry, everything you've ever known about the industry, and the whole term of mainstream. If you think about what mainstream is, it's collective. It's not necessarily underground that only a few people fuck with, which is more social, Scorpio, but it's mainstream. If you notice, people break out of the underground into mainstream. They're breaking out of Scorpio, the rare talent, into Sagittarius being seen by the world. So a lot of these collective transits are reaching their end. A lot of everything that mainstream media defined as cool in the in thing and what's dope is done. You're seeing it in record sales. You're seeing it in culture. I'm going to use music as an example, but it applies way more to music. So what does this have to do with you? This is all getting ready for the neo-renaissance. I don't want to call it the neo-renaissance, but this is the divine blossoming. Jupiter and Pisces is blossoming the whole collective to step into a new level of authenticity. And so what you're going to find is, given all the eras of mainstream, especially popularized since the 60s and 70s, all the archetypes, you know what I'm saying, all the types of people, I don't want to put this in, against the cool people versus like the nerds or losers, but basically that whole, if you think about what's been like ruling mainstream media, it's this very fake, forced, exaggerated lens and sense of like, oh, I'm cooler than you, I'm richer than you, I have more affluence than you. You've seen all sorts of artists from all genres address this and talk about, oh, see, we live in a fake society and like, oh, we need to do better, but like no action has been ever taken. You still see consumers still like proliferate and make popular this fake lifestyle. You still see a whole bunch of people live vicariously through drug dealers, through rich ballers, through super popular people, because we want to live that fantasy lifestyle where we know everybody. We're spending all the money. I'm not preaching here. I'm telling you literal facts. Like this is basically what advertisers and marketers use their billion-dollar corporations and investments to literally set the tone of a mainstream narrative that influences children to think what's cool. Think about when you were a kid, certain songs that came out that were pushed by a machine so that they were played so that that was cool. That pushed a certain message, that pushed a certain type of archetype of individual. And now that we're in a renaissance where people can use their own platforms and do mainstream numbers, I'm here to tell you that shit is dead. You're feeling it, but like many of you don't know that you're about to pioneer new waves because you're coming out this whole hamster wheel to feel like you have to do a gimmick or you have to follow some kind of formula to make it, when all you have to do is really be you. And so this is going to blow so many people's minds, because for so long you had this archetypal, oh, I'm rich, I'm cute, I'm influential. None of that was ever really real. All of that was a purported image that most of these artists get paid and will also tell you. What do you hear countless artists? Oh, the industry isn't what you think it is. None of this shit is really real. That's because none of this shit is really real. And so what you're gonna have as this fog clears and the culmination of this blossoming is all these people, because many of you may not admit, a lot of these songs, a lot of what is popular and mainstream had you as the butt of the joke, whether subliminally or directly. A certain archetype of nerds, lames, losers, like culturally for so long, you were the butt of that joke. And this applies to so many people because this has birthed generations of people wanting to look successful because they don't want to be that loser. They don't want to be that nerd. They don't want to be that lame. They want to get their body done. They want to get to this money because it's all about being rich. Niggas don't even really know their moon sign. Like, they don't even know who they really are. And this is what enabled them to chase trends. It literally got so cool to chase trends. This is not new. This is not new to the 2000s and the 90s. It's been happening since the 70s and 60s when people were keeping up with the Joneses. So we're taking an entire generational mainstream collective dynamic and it's dead. Welcome to the apocalypse. I say that because some of you are going to be surprised to put out super relatable content with little to no production and no mainstream backing, and it's going to do mainstream numbers because the fog is lifting. And what the collective is going to realize is that what they've been really looking for are real relatable people. Now, the whole concept of art that is real and relatable is not new. It's been in the underground for years. You've seen artists develop followings or mini cult followings from this, but a lot of them just never gained traction. A lot of it just never took off the way it was supposed to, and a lot of that is because of the fog and illusion of the machine. And mainly, we blame these artists, we blame these label heads, as I see a Freemason sticker, we blame the Illuminati, but really, it's mainly the consumer, because a lot of what these marketers market to are what the audience wants. And it's people will make wholesome, cool songs, and it really won't get popular. But somebody will make an anthem about killing somebody that proliferates more violence in the streets, and we will rave and rant over that, but then demonize the artists when they really live what they rap about. And that's just not cool. But what's happening right now is that the fog is leaving, and those same people that have been the butt of all these jokes, that have been the butt of this cultural narrative that was never real and that was never true, what's happening is those same people are coming around to rule the industry. And when they come on, they're never falling off. So the people, it's not as simple as saying all the losers, and it's not a revenge of the nerds thing, because all these archetypes and labels were never real. So it's just bringing back to the forefront and establishing forever real relatability in music, in all art, in culture, and forever killing off this whole deceptive. Consider the fact that for years you had thousands, millions upon millions of people generationally living vicariously through people who don't even live a realistic lifestyle. Like you see people who are not even from the ghetto literally singing and acting like they're shooting shots, which is funny, but then you realize this is actually hilarious. None of that shit is real. None of that shit is really relatable. That's why people live vicariously through these other people with great consequence. Cool. And that's all being replaced by people who don't have to actually act like who they're not and do it the right way, because there's a lot of way that the conscious music turns super lyrical and intellectually elitist, and then you have fucking Christian rap, which was just too Bible thumpy, and you're going to have it's going to be done right in a way that's just super relatable and a way that doesn't try to be cooler than it is. And so a lot of these themes that have been demonized, basically the main theme of this new renaissance is the overarching message that it's okay to not be cool. It's okay to be normal. It's okay to be you. Okay, we've seen acts like Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to keep it just to hip hop, kind of bring this wave, but a lot of people think they're too cool. A lot of people point the finger and demonize what other people do when one, it's not that serious, and two, as strongly as people keep these opinions, they never knew what they were talking about. So when this stuff starts to kind of blow up and really take over, there's going to be resistance towards it, because you would never necessarily expect that loner kid in high school who wasn't necessarily popular to basically, when all is said and done, be the top earner, be the person who is actually influencing culture. Like, this is why it's going to be hard for a lot of people to accept, because so many people for so long thought out of high school I was the cool one in high school. I got all the attention, I spent all the money, but you were never really cool. You were just perpetuating a fake lifestyle. You were just putting up an image for people who didn't really know who they were to follow you because they didn't know who they were. Well, guess what? It's the end of the world, and people are fucking awakening. And so they're going to awaken to the fact that all these cultural moments that we've hailed classics, all this stuff that we've looked at in the back that were dope, was never dope. Like, it's going to be a huge awakening. We're going to have this refractory period where people are going to really honestly look at maybe hits from the past and wonder, why do we even celebrate it like that? Like, this is the level of illusion that's getting away and not being fogged. A lot of stuff that's seen as corny now, right? Like doing what's right and actually living with integrity, is the new wave. All right? All this like fake gangster shit, all this I'm too rich, I live this luxurious life, all this, oh, I know everybody, I'm too popular, I get all the women, I get all the men, that's dead. That shit was never real. And like millions upon millions of people are gonna realize that the people who actually buy records, the people who actually show up and actually do stuff, are real relatable people. They're not people who are trying to live a fake lifestyle. They're not people who are trying to act cooler than the other people. They're not people who are trying to make art like, oh, I'm better than you, you look up to me. No, bitch. No, bitch. Okay? And so I hope this message treats you well, because a lot of you are going to be surprised that this starts with you. I'm going to use DJ Academics as a fine example. Okay, back when the socials were winning, this is the revolution of an individual. So socials were winning. You know what I'm saying? The Libras, the Scorpios, them niggas were winning like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, back when the mainstream was at its height. Now we don't have that social energy anymore. It's the revolution of an individual. Now you have a DJ Academics who's primarily made fun of being in his mother's basement. He has his own house, but you know, he started off in a basement doing that individual work. Now mainstream outlets go to him. Now he's a multi-millionaire. He's an individual. Cancer's an individual, Taurus is an individual. He's an individual. It's a revolution of the individual, where an individual with their own platform can do mainstream numbers. So like they don't have the wave anymore. Like, look at those prominent people. They're not selling records like they used to anymore. People aren't checking for them like they used to anymore, because people want the real. People don't want this manufactured image. They want what is real and relatable. And many of you may not realize that you're the next big thing, because you're expecting it to look, you've been trained that it has to look a certain way, when really you just have to be you. And a lot of the success that y'all are going to step into is based on what you've already done. Because while people are out there trying to keep up with the Joneses, buy this new Balenciaga bag, live this fake lifestyle, you were minding your business, paving your own lane, actually making a legend for yourself. Especially if you're Pluto Scorpio, y'all are going to be the soul group in generation 83 to 95 that really kicks this off. Pluto Sag, you too. But just letting you know. So congratulations. This is a long time in the making. The whole legacy of this is basically coming around to say, since the 80s, 70s, 90s, 2000s, y'all proliferated this fake ass image talking about, oh, if you don't do this, you're a loser. If you don't do that, you're a lame. So all those people that basically you said that about are going to come up, take over, do better numbers than you, sell better records than you, have a greater cultural impact than you, and it's gonna be like, you were talking all this shit, but look at you now. Look at you now. With all your money and influence, you ain't doing shit. Like, it is what it is. Meanwhile, super relatable, real, driving a Mazda you is actually, you know what I'm saying? Having more cultural impact than all this fake mainstream ideals that have been said. And when it all comes back around, you were the late bloomer who is finally blossoming after, not other people who blossomed too early and then got too changed by the money and the quick fame and success. You actually went through, paved your own likeness and lifestyle, and you're using that, not some manufactured mainstream label idea to like get views, your real self. And that's what's gonna actually have you establish this new wave, this new renaissance. And it's all based on you being you. which I mean is nothing new. It's not necessarily new. It's just going to be done right in a way that takes into account everything that's come before it and now rests its place as have always. It's kind of like the ugly duckling. You're blossoming into the swan, and all these other cultural groups that thought they knew, they really didn't. Godspeed.